Hey there, Ill Factor here, and in this video, I'll be showing you how I sound design and produce synths for a feature-based track I produced for my upcoming course, Producing EDM. Now, if you ever struggle to produce and arrange synth parts for your tracks, you're gonna love this tutorial. And just a heads up, I'm going to be opening up my Producing EDM to the public for the first time very soon. And if you'd like to get a full tutorial where I break down another track that I've produced in a feature-based style, just go to beatacademy.com/EDM and you'll be able to join the waiting list for the Producing EDM course and get access to the sneak peek there. You can get more details at the link below in the description box. All right, now that we've talked about chords and melodic composition, let's start doing some sound designing. I want to focus on the chord stacks. They're really the central highlight of a lot of the future bass. So picking up where we left off, we've got our main synth here, and I'm using Serum, and this is just a straightforward sawtooth. And usually a lot of the chord stacks are that bright, buzzy type of sound, so you're gonna be gravitating towards the sawtooth waveform. Oscillators A and B are set to sawtooth, and the unison is turned up to 8 to give it that nice, wide sound. And it's just pretty straightforward. We're gonna do some strategic layering here. So I'm gonna use that as our base, just staying there. And then I'm going to layer this one sound. So I'm gonna hit Command G. If you're using Logic or any other DAW, just simply create another MIDI track and then group them all together. But here we'll use, let's use Ableton Live's wavetable. And again, I'm going to use a sawtooth here again. Make sure it's set to polyphonic, and we're going to go in the unison mode here and choose noise. Now, what's going on here? What are we hearing here that we would need to replicate if we weren't using Ableton Live's wavetable? Well, we're getting, I'll just turn this off a little bit. I'll turn it off. What we're getting is a lot of that quick modulation movement that you would normally get like using an LFO. So if I routed the matrix to, let's say, the pitch, and routed that to the LFO, and going to that LFO, increasing the rate, and then bringing the amount down. You're getting that constant flutter. And then choosing oscillator 2 to, instead of one of the wavetables there, we would choose white noise. That's essentially what we're doing where we're adding that unison. It's adding some detune by slightly detuning the pitch here and there, and it's adding the white noise on there together. So I'll go back in here and just zero that out. Unison, noise. And we can max out the voicing. Now let's layer that with our Serum. Now that's pretty good. Now I don't want to go overboard with stacking. I want to be very strategic about why I'm layering it. So this one, the wavetable that we just did, it's adding a lot of that noise and that nuance there. So I might add a little bit of saturation to this, so just a little filter drive. And then the bass, the body of that synth stack is from the Serum. This is without the wavetable. I like more of the wavetable coming through than the Serum. That's cool. So let's go ahead and create another MIDI track, copying the MIDI that we have from there, just dragging that down. And just choosing another plugin. Let me try, this is a random, we'll use Dune. It's a random VST synth here. And let's choose just an initial bank here. Or this can be done with another Serum or another wavetable. The principles are just applying. I'm just using another synth for the sake of using another synth. So here, we'll have now a octave lower, right? We're gonna set the first oscillator to sawtooth, and we're gonna go down 12 semitones. octave lower. Okay, so that's cool, and I can blend oscillator 1 to oscillator 2. And it has this fat knob, which I think is just unison, similar to the wavetable. Okay, that's cool. And then some noise. I'm just cutting off just a little bit, resonating it a bit, and let's mess around with the spread here. That's winding it up a little bit. That's cool. Now let's just layer that with the other synth. All right, that's good for the stack there. That's the main body or the meat of the chord stack. Now let's go ahead and layer this with a bass. It's gonna be a bit aggressive, and then maybe a top lead. All right, now for the bass, let's use another serum. I mean, why not? Serum all over the place. And but any 2 or more oscillator would work. I want something aggressive, so it's gonna be a little bit greedy. And then we'll have a sub bass that we'll create separately. So let's go ahead and call this bass 1. It's focusing on this. Now let's pull for the bass line. Let's get the chords that we grabbed from the chord stack, but only highlighting the bottom root note. So that's the one we want. So we'll take these 2 out, all these here. So I'm basically doing this all the way through. So I just want the bottom and focusing on that. And we'll go select all of them and holding shift and the down arrow key. We're going a whole octave lower. All right, and let's add a little bit of unison to this. Just a little bit, because the stacks are already got so much unison and so wide. I want this to be a little bit more narrow. And let's have this go an octave lower. And let's filter them. Let's see what sort of results we get when we start mixing the wavetable. So back to basic shapes. And let's switch this maybe to square. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. We can even add some noise to this. And under the effects, let's go ahead and distort this. Maybe just a little bit of chorus. And then I'll use a EQ. We're gonna take away a lot of the low end and just let the sub. And maybe just a little bit more saturation. See what that sounds like with the stacks? So it might be, let's try putting this an octave higher. Yeah, it's cool. I like it, gives that body back to that low mid. Now duplicating this. You can see here it's layering, but layering with it's division but unity, right? It's layering with a purpose. That's key here. Don't layer and like, oh, I'm gonna duplicate 5 stacks and make it big. That's not how you make a big sound. That's not how you get a big sound. We've got just, 3 of these, but tastefully layered and balanced out of the chord stacks. Nothing too much. The basses, the whole thing with a lot of this stuff is being purposeful with your layering. Why are you adding another layer? Well, I want to have more control of the sub frequencies, and that's why I'm having the sub and the bass distinct. That you notice that I cut off from 125 because I want to let the sub really breathe in the lower frequency range. So for this, we can use any, oscillator synth here. We might use operator or wavetable. Doesn't really matter. The operator here in Ableton, I'll use a wavetable. Doesn't really matter. Anything with a sine wave. I'm using wavetable because it's probably visually easier to compare this with any other synth you might be using. But sine wave, going from polyphonic to monophonic. And maybe instead of going to that higher note, we'll switch that one down an octave. Okay. Now, with that lower, let's see here. Let's go to audio effects, use our amp emulator. And I'm only using this not to really bring out grit, but to add their harmonic saturation. All right. And then let's use the EQ. I'm using EQ 8 here to do the opposite. We're going to let that breathe in the bottom and just get rid of some of that high end. So I might want to go an octave lower and then bring this octave higher. Might be too deep or too low. That might be good there. And then just balance this out with everybody else. So let me hear the bass first. Right, so if I wanted more of that low end sub, I can just beef that up here without having to try to squeeze sub from the first bass or any of the chord stacks. All right, let's go ahead and create that top lead line. So I want to go ahead and highlight the length of time here in my arrangement window. I'm going to hit Shift, Control M, or Command M, and that's going to create that length of time. Now, to help me kind of identify the notes and where I should be going with the melody, I'm going to drag this next to the initial chord stack. I'm going to click the chord stack region, and while holding Shift, click this empty region that we just created. Now we're able to see the notes that belong to the chords. We see them here, and it can be a helpful guide to notate the melody. So what I'll do is hit the fold button, and now this is going to illuminate just the notes. We can see here that these are the chords, and I can edit and change that, or I can click the empty region, which is the green one, which represents the top lead. So I'm gonna hit the focus button here, and that's gonna allow me just to edit the top lead. So let's start by just following the line here. So I will adjust the chord. Maybe put this to. So I'll put it on the A there. That's a little too low. I want to go an octave higher, but I noticed I didn't play that octave in that chord. So removing the fold mode and hitting Shift and up will send it an octave higher. Send that. And that bend or that portamento really helps with the gliding. And right here. So right there, we'll just drag that out. And what's cool is, let's create this length of time. And dot, dot, dot. And I'm just gonna maybe do this right there. And I just drew a rhythm. So if I play it here, right? Now we can just use this and draw them to different notes. Since we're in fold, all these notes were played in the chord. And just experimenting. Right there. See what that sounds like? Right there. That's kind of cool. Let's see what that sounds like with the chord stacks and listen to it in context. Oh, that. I'm hearing like a like a really cool fill there. So you know what we'll do is create an audio track and hit the record button. And this track has this microphone routed to it. And this is a perk. This is one of the pros of Ableton Live. But if you're following along and you're not using Ableton, I'm not doing this to persuade you to use it, but this is something cool here that I want to do. So I'm going to sing it. So let's put this part in. So let's hit record. All right, so just recording myself singing it. Let's check it out. All right. And what I'll do is now transfer this over here and convert that to MIDI, the melody. So it was all a little off pitch, but and this. And we'll do that. So I think it was just flat all around. And I can just adjust it. Yeah. There you go. So it helps if you can sing this on point, but I'm glad I really fumbled it because you can see how you can adjust that. But that's cool. I mean, I sung it. There is my melody. I can even adjust the timing. So it's got that cool little bends. That's cool. Now let's transfer it a whole octave higher, holding shift, going up. Now let's see what it sounds like with the stacks. Copy this over here. And then maybe a leading tone here. Right, like trying to get this like that. All right, so we've grouped the bass, top lead, and stack 2 and stack 1 all together in one group. I separated the sub because I wanted to treat that differently. So with all of them routed to the same output here in this group channel, let's do some processing and add what really makes that distinct future bass type of sound with the chords. So I'm going to give a little bit of dimension here with some reverb. Start with that. Just a pinch of that. And then what we'll do is add some saturation with a little bit of soft clipping too, so that's going to act like a limiter. Maybe dry this back. All right, and some EQ. All right, just to kind of say I want some of the sub. All right, now let's add that pulsing action that we could hear, almost like a side chaining. We might even utilize some side chain here, but that pulse action that's so noticeable in a lot of the future-based stuff. And so let's go ahead and use a tool here. We'll call it Lfo Tool Plugins. And this is another plugin by Xfer. And I've downloaded the demo so you guys can check it out. But I'll show you another way that you could utilize this too. But here you can route what the LFO is going to be modulating, in this case, the volume. And so this is where you get a lot of that swell or that volume. And here's the rate, so you can change that. The minute you hear it in eighth notes, right? So you kind of get in the vibe. This is where a lot of that the energy is coming from. And you can shape this so it can be quicker. You can. So this is a really unique. So you might want to have the first hit to be eighth notes and then slow it down. So what we can do is hit this button here and configure the rate, and then show the automation to simply write in the rate that we want. So let's say we want right? So maybe half of that goes back down. So maybe not coming in right now, but you kind of get the, I like that. See what this is with the drums. Right there. And maybe having this down. So it's just like one bar. So maybe just yeah, and then we can mute. So I'll use let's go audio effects. You see how I'm just kind of going with the vibe, playing it, what sounds good, right? So maybe even not just muting it, but maybe doing like a cool tape stop. So let's find tape plugins. And there's a cool tape stop plugin here by Kilohertz that we can use to emulate like a tape stop. So what I can do is just adjust the stop time so it slows down a lot. It takes a slower time. That's kind of cool. So right here, we'll bring that down. And the start time could be a little quicker. So let's, right here, this probably needs to be adjusted so it's not happening right on the, and then bring it a little bit earlier. And then going in here. So this is where all the magic happens. You can see. Maybe just muting this. So there's nothing there. And then, right? Making this 16th note here. So switching that back to this. Yeah, and maybe just taking out the notes themselves. So yeah, it's adding that flavor, that the vibe and the overall tone, that or the rhythmic pattern with these tools that can be really helpful. Let's go over to our audio effects, go to our dynamics, compressor, and we're gonna do the side chain here. Side chain in the drums, it'll be that kick. So see what it is without the tape stop. So maybe chopping, you could leave the tape stop, or maybe just And then we can use these call and response pockets to add some really cool textures and other sounds, or maybe some glitch stuff that can really live well in those pockets. But again, this is really where you get the vibe when it starts to come together, is when you start to utilize that LFO tool and that pulsing action. Let's put the sub back in. Now, I wanted to treat the sub differently, but I also want the sub to play with that same rhythmic, so I could rhythmic pattern, so I could either copy it or just bring it in the group. Let me see what it does with the group. You notice the sub is still going on here. Yeah, so this is where I would spend some time figuring out like what's gonna feel the best. And well, thank you so much for watching this video. Now, this video is taken from my upcoming course, Producing EDM, where I show you step-by-step how to produce EDM in subgenres like house, feature bass, drum and bass, and many more. If you like to take the production techniques and sounds of EDM into your own music production to get the punchy drums, cool synths, the build-ups, the drops, and all the tips and tricks you can get from this genre in your music, then this course is for you. I'll be opening up Producing EDM for new students very soon, so if you'd like to get a sneak peek of the course and be notified when it launches, go visit beatacademy.com/EDM. Thanks for watching.